Welcome to the Armchair Imagineering Challenge, episode number 4. Today, with me, as always, I have the incredibly talented, incredibly handsome, incredibly British, Rob Yo. Hello, Rob. How are you, sir?
Pip pip cheerio.
Oh,
Hello,
top of the
man.
morning.
How are we doing today?
Uh,
So that's still Ireland. Still Ireland.
is there lots of fog? Is it raining?
Some tea and crumpets, are we?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Did you have
Yes,
a
we are.
baguette? Oh, wait, that's France. Never mind. And then also... And then also joining us today is the incredibly talented, the incredibly creative, and the incredibly horrifying Shelby Wendiguts. Shelby, hello, welcome.
Hello, oh man, I got cut off there. I'm happy to be here. Obviously slurring up my words already. I'm nervous about being on camera, but I'm doing well. How are you?
You don't have to be nervous. You look good. Look at your hair. It's all suave and parted, and like just has this excellent swoop to it. You've got strong bangs. I'm really loving everything that's going on here. Also, great glasses choice. Also, great shirt. I think that you're just rocking the camera today, Shelb.
Thanks. I made this shirt.
Did you?
My own two hands.
Well, the reason why we have the horror artist mastermind Shelby with us today is because we have a pretty horrifying challenge, and so maybe Rob, you can tell us a little bit about challenge number 4.
Yes, that's right. So, as everyone knows, this Halloween is not quite the same as every other Halloween because most of us are still stuck inside, socially distancing. So we thought we'd put a Halloween themed challenge to everyone, which is to design a brand new scare house. So it could be based on your own idea, or it can be based on an existing IP, movie, book, whatever you want. We want to see what the facade's going to look like, what the story is, how it's going to be laid out, what different scenes there are, what kind of scare actors you're going to have, and then what techniques you'd use to make it in terms of lighting, music, smells, props, anything that's going to bring this to life and scare the pants off people coming through.
Perfect. And this challenge also has some prizes along with it.
Ooh, we do love prizes, and these have been generously donated by Halloween Horror Nights Unofficial, who have graciously given prizes for the top 3 entries. So for the golden armchair, there is a $100 prize pack. For the silver armchair, there is a $50 prize pack. And for the bronze armchair, there is $25 prize pack. So these are big stakes.
Ooh, man. I'm super excited. So should we just jump right into taking a look at some entries?
Let's do it.
All right, perfect. Up first, we have DLRP Studios with the Mystery House. It has long been told that an abandoned house on a hill surrounded by high mountains and large forests, which were once the scenery of medieval battles. They used to say that the cemetery, allegedly haunted by evil spirits, is hidden somewhere in the wood. The house dates back to the early 20th century. It was built on the ruins of a castle, which still has part of its original walls and a central tower. I like that. I like the idea of like double, like Inception castle on top of castle. This is a really great house, Rob. You want to tell me a little bit about it?
Okay, so I think in the backstory it is about the owner who was sort of interested in the occult but went missing. And now there's a graveyard and a haunted house that you get to explore. And the thing is about this entry, they don't give too much away, so you don't quite know what you're in for. But it is a very spooky looking house, and the premise can go in quite a lot of directions. So it sounds pretty spooky to me.
Yeah, they have lots of detailed drawings here. I like the idea of like, some kind of Sasquatch type situation. I loved the Horror Nights house last year with all the Yetis. So bring me large footed apes into haunted houses any day of the week for me.
Actually, I think this is the another entry with the Yeti.
Oh my goodness, I went too far ahead. Oh my god.
You got too keen.
I got too keen. I got too keen. I got too keen. I really I got too keen. You're right.
Too much Red Bull today. So that was Mystery House by at DLRP Studio, and then the one you'd moved onto
is from Z Studio D. Right. I just got. You know what the problem is? I saw the profile of a Sasquatch and I just had to click. I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's just a problem that I have. Just like I believe in the Sasquatch, and so up next here we have Z Studios D with Expedition Swamp. In 1808, Sir Levian built a small house off the shore of the Mississippi Bend. The house was unfortunately abandoned after the Louisiana Purchase. In 1991, Mr. Henry Thomas bought the house trying to recreate the house of the future. Unfortunately, nobody cared. On a dark night, he heard a group of youngsters telling the legend of Bigfoot, and a boy said something about the swamps. And then an idea was sparked. Now he is determined to showcase Bigfoot and the swamps to the general public, a hunt for Bigfoot. This is great. I love a Bigfoot hunt, as I previously mentioned while talking about the first entry, Confused.
Yes, he is such a legend, and what I like about the story is kind of Scooby-Doo-esque, I guess, but the more horrific version, because you're being briefed that you're going on almost a tourist expedition to try and find this legendary monster. So you'll go into a house, you'll be briefed, and then you're going out into the swamps, and you'll have a couple of near misses with the Sasquatch before returning to the house, and there's this grand unmasking where it is the owner who is just trying to drum up the tourist trade for his tours. So I kind of like that, and it made me think if you could do like a Scooby-Doo house, but murderous levels of horror, I think that could be quite fun.
Camp always works well with haunted houses. It doesn't matter if it's like super funny or super serious, as long as you're scaring people. So I feel like camp, no matter how campy it can be, like Scooby-Doo, it'll work. I like it.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
I think people would have a lot of fun with that, because just going for pure terror, that's one thing. But I think if you can be kind of winking at the audience with, the premise or the big twist at the end, that's going to make it really memorable at the end of the day.
All right. And up next now we have Jill with a house called Fear. This house is unique because, and I think this is pretty great, and maybe Rob, you can kind of go into it a little bit more. It has no scare actors inside. It's essentially an empty house that you are kind of challenged all the way through. So I kind of love that idea.
Yes, this is quite clever because some people with their entries, they were thinking about not the ideal Halloween, but the Halloween we actually have, in which case there's going to have to be things like social distancing and certain safety precautions that you wouldn't have on other years. So this house, not only does it have no scare actors, it's based on this clever premise where each scene is based on a different sort of common phobia. So you go into a house and it kind of looks like, going to visit your grandma, and it kind of has that smell of mothballs and, plastic covered furniture. But I think you start off with, and you've got fear of dogs, where a big rabid wolf is coming after you, and a fear of thunder. Then you move on to fear of heights, where it looks like you're walking across a really precarious precipice with wind blowing, you could fall off any time. And each room follows that theme with a different kind of fear, which is quite clever, because odds are you're going to be scared of one of these. So it's giving you lots of opportunities to get spooked.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have the section 3 is being buried alive. Section 4 is spiders and snakes, which I love. I love the idea of. Also, if you're being told by a haunted house like company that you're about to go into a house and don't worry, there's no one inside of it. There's no scare actors. I would not trust that 1 minute. I would be on edge the entire time. Are you kidding me? So I love that. I love that idea of kind of playing with your mind, both mentally and physically. I love that.
Psychological torture. Yes.
It also plays on being alone.
Oh, that's another one. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Each room is the fear of being by yourself, and you don't know what's going to be around each corner. It's a fear of the unknown.
There you go. All right, up next we have a repeat visit to an original property that we had from a previous challenge with The Depths by Ludpet Parky. Guys, I'm sorry. I love all of you. I hope when you mispronounce your names, you don't think any less of me. This is inside of that living mountain from the previous challenge, which was really really cool. And you kind of go in through one of the central hubs of the Mount Mystery area, through one of the mouths of the creature, and are kind of diving deep into the living cave, which is pretty cool. Can you take us through this one a little bit, Rob?
Yeah, sure. I think what's clever about this is, the option is either your own idea or taking an IP. But what they've done is taken kind of their own IP from the previous challenge where we had to come up with an entry for Mount Mystery. So this is still in that same setting, but changing it to almost a Halloween overlay. This is giving me vibes of sort of Journey to the Center of the Earth at Tokyo Disney Sea, because you're being led through the caverns of this living mountain, with a little bit of Poseidon's fury, because you've got a tour guide who gets dispatched very quickly and gets killed. And as you're going through, there's all sorts of scenes. There's crystals, there's giant like worms. So you're getting further and further inside this mountain, and it's kind of got that body horror thing of goop and eyeballs and muscles and kind of like being inside a body. And in the end, you start seeing these sort of mini mountain monsters being born to spawn out in the world and start their own Mount Mysteries. But it would be quite a great, it feels like an expedition, like you're actually going on a journey rather than some of the linear ones where you're aware that you're going from left of a room, right, left, and it's very linear.
That's one thing I've noticed with a lot of these entries. They go sort of like the Lovecraftian route, the expedition and the unknown creatures and body horror, and I love it. I love that worm with the crystals. I think
It's just so unique. I think anytime, not just in sort of this genre where it's scare houses, but in themed entertainment in general, if you can come up with something that's so unique and you can't see it anywhere else, that's going to have such a bigger impact than if you did only zombies or only vampires or one of these big archetypes that anyone else can do. Because I mean, this is living mountain zombie creatures that can infect other ones and giant worms and things like that. That's so unique and creative that it's going to really stick with you.
Also, I love the idea of you being in this big horrific mountain and then also being able to witness do you think to yourself, like, what is a living mountain? That's crazy. That's ridiculous. And then he answers that in the cave by you seeing other living mountain babies being born. And you're like, well, I guess we know the full reproductive cycle of mountains now. And so I think that's something we really have to appreciate and respect.
Entertainment.
True entertainment. All right, up next we have Oswaldo Future with The Vampire Noir, which is really, really fun. Let's read the description. Secrets lie underneath the streets of Paris. A long history of blood and bone has allowed them to stay hidden in the shadows. But this ancient race has an insatiable thirst. They beckon you to discover those secrets for yourself. So this is a really fun vampire house. Rob, give us the recap.
So this one is set in modern day Paris, which is sort of a really fun setting because it has that, mysterious vibe of you never quite know what's behind each door. So you sort of start in a romantic bar before descending into the catacombs, which are real features of Paris, and then being absolutely terrified by these vampires as you explore further into the depths. But what I like about this entry is for this challenge in general, how people have used their various skill sets to bring their idea to life. And in this case, it's makeup. So I think she said she got her sister, who's a makeup artist, to create, the vision of how the vampires are going to look. And it's quite good because, you've got Paris, which is sort of elegance and tradition mixed with vampires. So it'd be a very classy kind of scare, I'd imagine.
you don't see a lot of gothic vampires that often these days, and I like that throwback.
Do you think that's because of Twilight? Do you think that we've killed the gothic vampire?
I think things like Underworld and Blade killed the gothic vampire before Twilight could have gotten to it.
Sure, but there was at least a taste of gothic vampire in those films. as opposed to Twilight, where there is no gothic vampires. It's just Michael Sheen in a robe with giggles, and everyone's shiny. So I don't. Everyone is sparkling. Um, all right, up next we have The Conjuring Haunted House by Molly Warner. This is really. I love we're throwing in some fresh IP here. I dig it. So let's jump in. Of course, I don't do well with scary movies. I'm gonna be real. I love a haunted house, but I haven't seen The Conjuring, so I'm gonna leave it to you two to kind of tell me if they interpret it the right way. Rob?
Oh, see, I need to bow out as well, because to be honest, I'm a giant coward when it comes to horror films and horror nights. They scare the bejesus out of me. But yeah, I believe that this particular entry is very true to the Conjuring series. I don't know how many movies it is now, but I think Annabelle is part of the series as well, about the spooky doll. Am I right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And the nun.
Yes. There's so many of these spooky, but I think it's based around, are they paranormal investigators or exorcists? Something. It's like a husband and wife team.
Technologists, if I remember correctly, which is a thing.
Okay, right.
But it's based off a true story. The movie is based off of true story. And then I guess they took the movie version, and made it into a haunted house.
Yeah. It's very specifically based off of just by reading the descriptions, which you can all see on the screen here. They kind of take you throughout the film, room by room, and recreate some pretty iconic moments from the film, which I think is pretty great.
Yeah, you get to see Annabelle. You get to see kind of an exorcism or a deprogramming taking place. I've just put a summary in here, but every single scene is broken down with a fantastic drawing. Okay. And what I liked is, in addition to the description, there's sort of an old-timey music cue that goes along with each scene. So if you're interested, you can either pause the video and take in the detail, or if you check it out on Twitter, you can see the full entry, and it's very, very impressive work.
I love the amount of work people put into these. Some of these are like really intense, and I would have never thought they put that much work into it. Not that they wouldn't. I'm shocked.
No, I mean, tell me about it. I was surprised because when I did this challenge, I thought at most people would do 2 drawings and a paragraph of writing. And some of these entries have been, someone's done like 43 pictures of every aspect of the scare house. They've put together technical documents with square footage, what kind of pulley and bracket is going to be used. I mean, it nearly gave me a nervous breakdown putting it into this deck, and I just had to try and cut it down. But
yeah, you might have to put rules where it's like only 3 pieces of artwork may be submitted in the future.
Yeah, live and learn. Just my insanity. I couldn't keep up. The first draft of this presentation was like 8,000 pages long.
Oh gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
Some of them put Horror Nights to shame, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
Some of these illustrations are really good.
Yeah, they need to get on the phone and recruit these people.
Yeah.
Up next, we have Gardaland with Bellevue Hotel. In the 60s, the Bellevue Hotel was the most renowned and frequented only by VIPs. Ceremonies, events, and concerts were held in that majestic hotel. On the night of October 10th, 1962, the owner of the hotel and some celebrities decided to perform a satanic ritual in the hotel in secret. Obviously, they weren't doing it publicly. Among the attendees were the famous actress Eliza Kelly and the banker who lent funds for the construction of the hotel. Since that night, no one has saw them again. Ooh, I like this. It's very It gives me the whole Tower of Terror vibes, which I totally dig.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the location of like a haunted hotel is very Hollywood Tower Hotel, and I can definitely imagine that Tower of Terror vibe where you've got a place that's kind of abandoned, but also instead of the 30s, it's in the 60s. So you're getting into sort of, the late 60s cults, Charles Manson and things like that. You've got a kitchen with zombie chefs. You've got these show scenes where you're going into the actress's sort of boudoir dressing room. She appears in the mirror as a ghost, and then an actor will jump out of the wardrobe as a zombie. You've got the banker's room where he's sort of spooking you as well. And then this big twist at the end, it's the owner of the hotel who's cursed everyone. But there's lots of interesting elements. And like I was saying before, if you can combine a couple of different ideas that probably wouldn't go together, you'd think, you create something really unique. So you've got, the haunted hotel, satanic rituals, and then the 60s. That makes a really unique flavor.
Yeah.
It could be really scary if they take it to a serious route, but you could also play on the camp of it and make it sort of silly, like with the zombie chef and stuff like that. So it could be fun, but also scary, which I like.
Absolutely.
All right.
No, I completely agree with you.
Up next, we have Lisa, the geek mom for the Minds of Madness. We're going full Lovecraft again, right? I think I see Cthulhu right there at the bottom. It's
Oh yes.
Rob.
Not just Lovecraft, but Poe.
Yeah. We're throwing it all together. I love this.
The two classic horror writers. So basically, this house is sort of a nightmare fueled by the novels of H.P. Lovecraft and Edgar Allan Poe. So I think you've got a room based on the Telltale Heart, and you've got one with the Raven quoting Nevermore,
Mask of Red Death. Yeah,
all of these.
I love that. I love a classic literature house.
The Pit and the Pendulum. This is like a very academic scare house, and I appreciate that. It's going very highbrow. But one of the coolest features of this particular design is a reverse stretching room. So you'll walk into a big cylindrical room, floor to ceiling with bookshelves, but then the floor starts moving up, and you're getting closer and closer to this writing desk as I think you're taking on the role of a struggling writer who's having a nightmare before you carry on, and it ends with this giant confrontation with Cthulhu. It sounds
like my Saturday. Sounds like every Saturday night for me. Sounds like
sounds like a party.
Yeah.
It's like they knew I was going to be on this episode. They knew I was coming.
This is so your flavor of spooky, I think.
It's so good. I love it. It's so beyond anything that could actually be done. It's like a blue sky project. Obviously, it's very intense. But if they could actually make it happen, it'd be the most incredible attraction ever.
Right.
Could you imagine? But yeah, the point is you're not constrained by, budgets or scale or any of that stuff that you have to worry about in real life, which means you can come up with really, really awesome ideas. Yeah. Like this next one, which is based on another IP.
This one's
Clue.
Yeah. Join the most...
Or as we call it over here, Cluedo.
You do not.
We do. Cluedo. It's like Ludo with a clue. Cluedo.
There's so much to unpack there that I don't even think I have the time to figure it out.
Another episode.
Join the most infamous dinner party in history and become part of the deadly game. It's your job to find out who killed Mr. Body, and it's definitely gonna get pretty colorful. With Parks with Peyton, this tickles me so much. I love the film. So let's just make it happen.
Yeah.
This is so clever. I love it.
I like that each room is a location on the board with a particular character and a particular weapon. And I think the murder of Mr. Body has happened, and every single sort of suspect is very, very concerned about being fingered as the culprit. So you're going from room to room, they're all brandishing their weapons, threatening you. And that's such a clever idea for a scare house.
It's so good. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Yeah, I love that.
As long as you have a Tim Curry actor in that as well.
Right.
Now, there's the entry, the ballroom. Do you walk through the ballroom, or is it just like something you constantly see as you're walking through the house? Because there's that big middle section.
And I could imagine you just sort of see it in the middle, and it could be an optical illusion, or you could do any sort of stuff. Or
as
to be honest, it's gonna be
sorry,
gift shop.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
Just love to walk around that mansion.
I would really love if they had each night, like let's say each night, if there was like a feature where each night in one of the rooms was in fact enough evidence to prove which person committed the murder, and then like in the gift shop, like there was like a big thing where you could like, you could make your guess and like get 5% off if you got the right thing or something. You know what I mean?
Or it's different
I think
every
would
night.
Like that. Yeah, definitely. Can you imagine all the vlogs about that? Like, we went through and we cracked the code.
Yep. Oh my goodness. I love this. I love Clue. Let's make it happen. Let's fire it up,
Yeah.
folks. Up next we have Albert Villeur with "It's a Dark World." Embark on the creepiest cruise ever sailed around the world. A journey around the countries of the world where you will face the regional monsters, legends, and scary rituals. Because this is the beginning of time. Because since the beginning of time, people knew. This font is very, very difficult to read for someone with dyslexia. So just cut me some slack. Because since the beginning of time, people knew that there's nothing like a good fright to scare children into good behavior. I just am so
It's so
tickled by
good.
this.
It's so cute.
like
I love it.
It is seriously cute because you think, like, you know, Disneyland has usually the Haunted Mansion that's getting the overlay for Halloween, or Cars Land. And like, this is like, of all the attractions to make spooky, it's a small world. But then again, it's also making it educational because you're seeing, you know, the mythologies of each country. So even though it's scary, and it's probably going to be palatable for little kids as well as grown-ups, you're
Yeah.
getting a little bit of education about these cultures as well. And there's new lyrics to the song. They wrote the music for it.
They did.
Which
Oh, I didn't
believe
even know.
I'm
is-
pretty sure they just took the song and put it in a minor key, which is
okay,
what you know what I mean.
I'm not trying to say it's on the same maybe level as the Sherman Brothers in
Right.
coming up with a completely new one. but
I love it though.
it's a twist on a classic.
Full disclosure,
Very clever.
absolutely in love with it. Absolutely in love with it. And quite honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing them. They do a Christmas overlay for It's a Small World, right? Like why aren't we? It's a Small World is such a staple now in terms of like being in the parks. Like everyone knows what it is. Everyone knows the song. Everyone knows what the dolls look like. You know, it's like we're over it. You know what I mean? Like you forget what half the country bears look like each time you go. You're like, oh, I forgot that this one's in here. But It's a Small World. It's always the same. So why aren't we doing seasonal overlays for every holiday? Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween. Like let's just be smacking these dolls with all kinds of different little hats and costumes and creatures. I'm all about it. Let's make it happen.
The attraction
It's
would be
true.
closed for like half the year.
Oh no, we're gonna make this real. It's just gonna be lots of magnets. We're just gonna design it with lots of magnets, so you can just run through it in like approximately 72 hours and just click everything on. You know what I mean?
Oh my god.
If Melissa and
Just
Doug can
replace
do
all
it,
the dolls with screens, and then you can just
I'm fine with that too.
change the input.
Right? Yeah. Or just projection map all the dolls like they do with Elsa and Anna and Epcot, and then you can just make them whatever you want every day of the
Done.
week. Okay, perfect. Up next, we have Marie with Wizarding World: The Dark Dimension. I am all about a Wizarding World haunted house, so let's check it out.
This one's cool.
Rob, can you walk us through it a
Like,
bit?
Yeah, so this is really exciting because I love Harry Potter, and there's so many
You love
horrific
who? Harry
elements.
Potter. You
Harry Potter.
you love Harry Potter over there in Britain. Yes, I'll shut up now. I'm sorry.
You know, sometimes it really hurts my feelings when you do that in impression.
Rob,
Anyway,
I love you, man.
that's something I do like. Yeah, there's so many horror aspects to Harry Potter that can be explored, you know, in a haunted house. Because for me, like in the films like Prisoner of Azkaban, you got the Dementors, and that's, you know, they're kind of creepy. But then when you're on the actual ride and they're this close to your face, that is like pant-wettingly terrifying. And Marie's capitalized on that. So this house is kind of all the places you'd want to visit in the Wizarding World, but with that horror bent to it. So you go through Malfoy Manor, you use flu powder, you go into the Ministry of Magic, you go through the Leaky Cauldron. There's so many great moments. You go through the banquet hall of Malfoy Manor, and you can see the dark mark coming out of a cursed woman. There's snakes, there's terrifying statues, there's Voldemort, and there's some really, if you keep clicking, there's some beautiful artwork that she's done as well.
Oh my goodness.
There we go. Like that, how good is that? That looks like that could be official.
Yeah, a lot of work went into this, and I love it.
Yeah.
Oh yes, no.
It's easily one of the biggest missed opportunities that has been the Universal Hollywood Horror Nights. It's the fact that Like, the movies have plenty of moments that are scary enough that we could be capitalizing on, you know?
Just do it. Print. It's a license to print money. Just do it. Do it.
Someone doesn't want scary.
Yeah.
Someone's name is J.K. Rowling.
Awesome.
Ooh.
I can't believe, like, I feel like these were taken out of, like, an art book from, like, one of the Harry Potter films. You know what I mean? It's really, really beautiful
No,
stuff.
I completely believe it. It looks legitimate.
It's really cool.
All right. Up next, we have... Whoop. We have it's auto-playing a video. We have Bree Noonan's with The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, a haunted house based off of the Netflix series, which is awesome. Rob, can you take us through this one?
Oh, yeah. So this is going to be, if you're a fan of the series, I mean, this is going to be the thing for you, because the entrance is going to be a screen that's flickering between different front covers of the Sabrina comic. It feels like you're actually walking into a comic book.
That's awesome.
And then the tour of the house takes you through all the classic scenes. So you're getting chased by the Dark Lord. You get to visit Sabrina's house and the mortuary, and it all culminates in a visit to the mines, which is, hell brought to life before Sabrina can seal it in with her magic. But it's just very cool. And I think if you're, even just a movie and TV geek, being able to walk around recreations of the set would be a really geeky thing when you're not screaming for your life because things are jumping out and trying to claw at your face.
Yeah, my goodness. This was like a pretty decently thrilling Netflix series. It was a pretty great show.
I mean, I was raised on the 90s one, so this one was a little bit
of a departure.
Spooky for me. Yeah, bring Melissa Joan Hart, please. I mean, I need to be taken back to safety.
All day.
I haven't even seen it yet.
All right, up next we have a past judge of the show, Liam, with Floating Frights. This is really, really fun. Drift into your nightmares. Floating Frights is the world's first family scare house built around a lazy river. This attraction provides light scares and good-natured fun. Liam, my goodness, man, this is so great. I was so tickled by this. Rob, can you walk us through this incredible story?
He's such a genius. Don't need to say more than haunted house, lazy river. That's such a weird idea, but so novel. And it works perfectly for this because it's kind of Bioshocky vibes, I guess. So it's sort of a Victorian manor that was built over sewers, and the sewers have these mutated creatures in there who are attacking the house. So you've got these characters who are plumbers trying to rescue you. You've got these possessed people who live in the house, and then what are they called? Gutter crawlers. So you have great costumes, and you're floating through the sewers, and you're going room by room because this house is sinking and completely flooded. So you've got paintings coming to life. You go through the cold storage freezer. You've got tons of great interactions. Of course, he's thought in every aspect what the soundscape is going to be like, what scent is going to be present in each scene, the lighting, the effects, the interactions you get. The only thing I'm not quite sure about is the final scene is the smell of feces.
Poo and fish.
And
he says,
I think
poo and fish.
The poor actors who'd have to stand there for their shifts inhaling that.
Yeah. You know what? I was like okay with the novelty of it up until the point you made me realize people would have to work in it, and now I'm nauseous.
Yeah. As long as they're not unionized, then I think we're good.
Oh my goodness. Wow. And also, let's just throw out there that lazy rivers are probably one of the scariest, most disgusting things at a water park. So, I mean, you're just raising the stakes. I mean, it's already full of hair and Band-Aids, and now you're adding scare actors to it? What? This is ridiculous.
That's so many levels of scary in one. It works on many, many levels.
It's so cute, and like you could control your guest flow literally through that attraction. It's genius. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
When operations say, we need to increase the number of people going through this hour, you just turn up the speed of the water.
Is that how they do Splash Mountain? They just turn up the
Yes,
speed?
yes, it is.
Pretty sure. Up next, we have Josiah DePauli with Expedition into Madness. This house follows an archaeological expedition into the Eldrick Ruin. Designed to repeat itself 3 times, this house keeps guests on edge and puts them in a place where they can't anticipate scares. It all leads to a split finale where the guests get to choose their ending. One shows the team crushing and defeating the monster. The other one shows the others show the monster defeating the team. This is great.
This one's awesome.
So I love the logic behind this because you're going through the same sets over and over and over, but each time something will change. So if you got scared by something jumping out from the left the first time round, you'll be lured into a false sense of security, like, okay, I know what's going to play out. This is going to happen. Something different will happen. Something will jump down at you. Something will drip on you. There's this statue that transforms each time to let you know that something's definitely not right. It reminds me of, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a video game demo where you're going around these hallways, but it's meant to freak you out because you'll turn a corner to where you've already been, but now it's a completely different hallway. So you're constantly terrified of what's going to be there because you can't get your bearings. And it reminds me a lot of that. And I thought it's a very clever approach that no one else has.
Yeah.
Is it Silent Hill? I think.
Silent Hill, the room.
PT.
Yeah, there's like the room or the...
Something like that. Yeah.
It was supposed to be the Guillermo del Toro game.
Right.
Didn't happen.
Yeah. Exactly that one. But I thought it's such a cool mechanic. And I like when people are thinking about different ways to freak you out rather than just things jumping out at you.
Absolutely. I love that. And also just the fact that you repeatedly entering the same areas is just confusing. Just already confusing for like the half the guests that didn't even really pay attention to any of the theming or advertisements for the houses, and they're just filtering into each one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely very true to Lovecraft too, which is obviously inspired by, and it's a key theme in Lovecraft horror. The characters going insane, repeating situations, and I just love that. And the art even looks like Mike Mignola from Hellboy, so that's another level of like Lovecraftian horror, and I love it.
Yep, I dig it. All right, up next we have Donald at It's the Boat, The Dead Beyond. Rob, can you give us a little bit of a story here?
So this one, I believe, is an 80s arcade-themed horror house. So I think it's based around a video game called The Dead Beyond, which I'm guessing is a made-up one that drove people crazy. And I think it's supposed to be multiple rooms coming off it based on different games.
Yep, that's what which is really, really fun. I like the idea of like a haunted house being able, like if Universal did that and it's like, hey, here's 4 or 5 of your favorite scary, like, video games, and we're gonna throw it all in. I mean, man, that's gonna bring some people in.
It's missing BioShock though.
I've never played BioShock. Is it scary? Specifically
It's got
scary?
Scary elements.
There you go. I dig it.
Oh. Rob likes it, so.
Up next, we have Mike Art Well Design and Happy Pappy 21 with Parasitus Scarehouse. This is a viral infections-based scarehouse. Welcome to Project Axon. In a remote outpost with Soviet Union in 1985, radical, borderline insane microbiologist Dr. Alexander Kazimir has recruited you for an innovative new experiment in which you will shrunk down and inject it into a host subject who has been voluntarily injected with an unstable parasite. Ooh, that makes me... So this is like Spooky Body Wars.
Hello?
Oh, we lost Rob for a second.
Rob?
And now Rob is back. Just in time to tell us about Spooky Body Wars, Rob.
I was wondering why it was quiet.
To be honest, I thought you guys were playing a trick on me and this was like your horror thing because you'd all frozen. And I was talking to myself. And I thought, oh God, they're going to move. They're going to jump out at me.
I was talking about BioShock. I'm like, why isn't Rob talking?
Yeah. I was also...
BioShock.
Yeah, I know that you love BioShock too. It's just like, I guess Rob's just not in the mood to talk about BioShock today.
I'm just sulking. So anyway, we are talking about Parasitus.
Yes, the spooky Body Wars.
Spooky Body Wars is right, with a little pinch of The Last of Us. So you've got this mad Soviet scientist who's developed shrink ray. And meanwhile, you are being sent into the body of someone who's infected with this parasitic fungus. So the aesthetic is kind of Cold War, Soviet era, past its prime laboratory, shrunk down, and then you're going through, you've got body horror because it's going to look like you're walking through the human body and it's gross and it's sticky and it's sinewy. And then I love the design of, these infected people. You've got the whole stage of them mutating into these fungus-headed zombies. But I thought, again, this is like quite an interesting blend of concepts because you've got sort of Soviet, you've got technology, you've got fungus body horror, kind of zombies. It's a nice, unique combination of things. And the presentation was great.
Took like a very cliche concept of zombies and made it something different where you're literally going into the body of a zombie, and that's so cool and so gross.
It's so disgusting. But that's fantastic because that's the brief, coming up with something absolutely horrific.
It'd also be unsettling about the house is that it'll be covered with like a lot of rubbery body parts, you know what I mean? Like all those, and those things just smell so terrible. And when you construct an entire haunted house out of rubbery, gooey body parts, can you imagine that inside of a Halloween mask smell times 1,000? Ugh. It makes my stomach want to turn. No need to.
It reminds me of. What was the one at Knott's? Was it Peter Pumpkin Eater? The pumpkin.
Yes. Oh, that one was so good.
Because as you're going through that, I think it's supposed to be decaying. So it starts off as like a fresh pumpkin, and as you go through, it's getting grosser and grosser and rotting. That's what I was picturing this is going to look like.
They literally wet the sieve that you have to go through. It's literally damp, and you have to touch it, and it's wet. It's so gross.
Where's the Purell? I need to clean everything.
Up next, we have Megan O'Rourke with Cryptids. This cryptid museum's new exhibit, Mythical Creatures Around the World, comes to life, and the only way to escape it is through the museum. This is really great. So we're bringing together lots of mythical creatures.
Chupacabra,
the Tiki-Tiki,
all sorts of
Aswang,
Nessie and Kelpie.
Baby Yaga.
So this...
Baba Yaga, not
so
Baby
to me,
Yaga. This
is kind of like
Baby Yoda. That's Baby Yoda's worst nightmare is Baby Yaga. So...
someone in merchandising has just got to say to Baby Yaga.
Shelby, come on, Shelby. You've got to build. You've got to draw now a Baby Yoda hanging out with a Baba Yaga. So... Get in it before the episode drops.
I gotta draw it now.
Do it. But this idea is cool because it's kind of imagine like a horrific version of Mystic Manor where all the exhibits are coming to life because it starts off with this pre-show with Bloody Mary, with your guide getting horrifically murdered. There seems to be a running theme in these houses by Bloody Mary, and then triggering this chain reaction of awakening all these exhibits, and then you have to go confront them room by room. That's a really cool idea.
Well, this is another one that put a lot of work into like their illustrations and stuff. I assume these are their illustrations.
Yeah, that's right.
That's so cool.
Absolutely beautiful.
It's a pretty common theme I'm seeing, like where they're playing with the fear of abandonment. You know what I mean? Like you're lulled into feeling safe if you know a team member is going to be walking with you the entire time. You know what I mean? And the minute that's taken away from you, just like, oh, come on, man. Up next, we have Martin with allotment. Allotment, yeah.
Allotment, yeah.
I almost read it as atonement, but I'm allotment. Which is a horticultural scare house, which I'm all about. Tell me about it, Rob.
So this is really clever because the idea is that this can be built. It's really versatile, so it doesn't just have to be built at a theme park. You could build this at, a county fair or any sort of outdoor event where you've got space. But the backstory is about a gardener who's trying to, make his plants as big as possible. But they've ended up mutating and becoming murderous. But you've got a lot of really cool monster designs as you've got plants that have kind of crossbred with humans, and have become this horrible mishmash of the two. So I think if you scroll through, you've got like sunflowers with faces in them. There's like a note which tells the backstory of them getting bigger and bigger, and until there's a blood-splattered one saying something's gone horribly wrong. People trapped in vines being murdered. I think the next one is really cool. So this is like a reverse jack-o'-lantern. So the pumpkins cut the faces off the humans. So like man-o'-lanterns.
This is one of my weirdly specific fears of like human killing plants. Maybe just me from watching Little Shop of Horrors when I was too young. And so I'm just like got a weird fear of like humanized plants or plants killing people. So this one was just that extra level of for me.
I loved. Just the imagery of a pumpkin carving the heads off of people is just, it's like spooky Cinderella. You know what I mean? It's like the fairy godmother cursed a pumpkin instead of enchanting it. You know what I mean? But I also love the idea of a spooky living with the land too. You know what I mean? Like that, because that's what kind of what we've got going on here. It's like we tried to harvest the power of plants, and then they decided to harvest us.
Here at Epcot, we're learning to live with the murderous plants.
Max, we have the Professor Kampf back again with the Conspiratorium, which is just this. Professor, I don't know, like how clever you think Mike. The concepts you pull together, man, are just too smart. They're too smart. These people, the people are just they're too clever. Rob, tell me about this one.
This is absolutely genius. You know what I'm talking about? Like different kinds of scares compared to, just costumes and jump scares. So I always look forward to seeing these entries from Professor Kampf, because he's always in a completely different ballpark to everyone else, but it's just genius. So the initial thing is based around conspiracy theories. So you'll download an app, and as you're going through each one, you're sort of collecting badges to show you've passed it. So things like great moments with Mr. Kennedy, the vanishing gingers, all these sort of famous conspiracy theories like we never landed on the moon, things like that. You go through these, and each one of these, definitely take a chance to pause and read each of them because they're genius. So you'll go through all of these, you'll get your badge on the app, but then the scare happens after you leave, because by downloading the app, now it's got access to your phone, and you'll start getting messages saying like your data's been compromised, we're going to leak your photographs, deep fakes of your face because they'll take your picture and then have videos of you threatening yourself with your own face.
Professor, who hurt you?
So
who hurt you, Professor? Who hurt you? Because this is the oh.
But imagine that it's not. This is something it's a real thing to be scared of. Identity theft, and all your information is about to leak it or use it against you, and it's living on your phone, which everyone's obsessed with their phone, carries it everywhere. So when it turns against you, that's something you can't just brush off when you leave. The scary house full of Frankenstein's creatures or ghosts. That's gonna be.
It's
fantastic.
A lot of work.
Really great. Up next, we have Imagineerland with the First Order Occupation. This is pretty great. I love the idea of having a Star Wars haunted house. So, Rob, can you tell us some more about this one?
So this would be, to my understanding, it's explained later on, but like if Halloween Horror Nights happened at Disney Hollywood Studios, so Batu would get this spooky Halloween overlay where there's new lighting packages, there's new sound effects, and everything feels a lot spookier. I think you queue through ogres, and what happens next, the scare house, which is kind of like a Rise of the Resistance, where you've got an altercation with the First Order, you've got stormtroopers and your resistance members. But it gets a whole lot bloodier because you'll have things like your fellow resistance members getting shot in the face, stormtroopers being murdered. So this is like the R-rated Star Wars, and you're just trying to survive through it, which is such a cool idea. Because usually it's kind of sanitized, stormtroopers could never hit anything, and everyone's going to be fine in the end. But this one, you're going to see blood, you're going to see people just getting killed. And then this is my favorite part. They've outlined this whole event. I can't quite see it, but there's, I believe, an alien attack themed area around the sci-fi dine-in restaurant. You've got a Tower of Terror themed area with sort of all the 1930s ghosts.
Disney villains.
You got a
house,
spooky
Nightmare Before Christmas house.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? I think this is all great. The only problem I have is that we don't have a Muppet Scare Zone where Sweetums isn't just running around the courtyard. Just huge missed opportunity here, Imagineering Land. I'm just saying, huge missed opportunity. If they got all those Sweetum costumes, man, they could have just filled the plaza with Sweetums.
But I think this would work well because Magic Kingdom, it has to be kind of the really kiddie-friendly park, which is proved by Alien Encounter had to go because everyone had a certain expectation of what Magic Kingdom is. Whereas Hollywood Studios, that's got Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, Star Tours, kind of the more intense experiences. So I think you could get away with doing a Halloween event that's a bit spookier than Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, somewhere between that and what Universal do, and they could occupy that middle ground where it's slightly older kids could do it, and it's not completely horrific, but you're still getting, a spooky experience.
I dig it. I like it a lot. Up next, we have Lars with Fallout Apocalypse. The apocalypse is now, and you must enter Vault 29. It is far safer in the vault than on the wasteland, or is it? You will find out quickly enough at the bottoms of the elevator that your vault has been overrun by mutants. You must escape as quickly as you can, past the sparking power generator, the cramped living quarters, an overflowing water treatment plant. Once you've gotten back on the elevator, your nightmare's not over. These mutants are on your lift. Once you're out, you must run over burning wasteland, having to choose left or right, and which is okay. So there's I don't know why my brain is not working reading all of that text, but we have a nice video. Tell me about it, Rob.
Well, I mean, this is based on Fallout, which is such a fantastic basis for a scare maze because there's so many horrific elements to it. There's the survival horror aspect of you being all by yourself. There's these mutated creatures. And then the vaults are such a great match for a scare house because they're in the games. They're always locations where something absolutely horrific has happened. And you're by yourself. You're figuring out what happened. And there's monsters in there trying to kill you. So not only is that a great concept, they built it. Like, this is a live video of the scare house, which blows my mind.
This is so good.
They've got their friends to dress them in costumes. They built it. They did the graphic design. They did posters, warning signs. Like, it's just insane.
Yeah, this one makes me so happy. So happy. I mean, my boyfriend and I love Fallout, and just to have that like 1950s aesthetic but mixed with horror and a post-apocalyptic, it's just 10 out of 10. So good. It's so good.
I love it. They've got some nice concept art here to take a look at, so you can see some of the different rooms. Really, really fun. This is very, very clever.
If you know Fallout, like the whole Pip-Boy 1950s style, I love how they incorporated that into their concept art. It's just on another level. I love it.
I'm looking forward to man, a place like Universal really should roll the dice on a video game property just to see. Because I bet you're going to get a whole new world of people coming to your theme park if you start doing that.
I've always thought that. I mean, people of the mainstream, quote unquote mainstream people don't really think about video games, but video games is like one of the biggest industries in the world. It almost more so than movies now with quarantine. Video games have been booming. So I think they really do need to think about a video game franchise with any theme park.
BioShock. Just do BioShock, please.
Yes.
I'm begging you. We've been saying this for ages. I don't care if it's a bar. I don't care if it's a ride. I don't care if it's a scare house. Just flip and put it somewhere because it's too good not to.
Let's get this done, Rob. Let's do it.
Kickstarter.
Up next, we have Blake H. Flynn with Newly Dead's Kiss and Kill. This is a fun dance like your life depends on it as this disastrous wedding is overtaken by horrifying urban legends. Party on. You're
This
invited.
one's so cute. It's so cute. I love it.
So this is a wedding ceremony that's gone horribly awry because, you know, the classic mistake on your wedding day, you know, you lose the rings, you didn't get the hotel booking, the vicar doing the service reads out of a Book of the Damned and unleashes urban legends to try and kill you.
That's it's so clever.
This is like,
I love that.
it's such a specific aesthetic as well, like a ruined wedding ceremony. And then you're going and there's all these crazy creatures attacking you. You're going past the dance floor. You're going through the reception. I mean, that's so unique. I love it.
Very, very cool. I just love the idea of like a wedding singer aesthetic being laid over a haunted house. You know what I mean? Like going full 80s with it. Let's make it happen, guys.
It's so wrong, but it's so right.
It makes me think Evil Dead meets Wedding Singer.
Yeah, I love that.
Right. Yeah.
I love that.
That's the elevator pitch.
Up next, we got Super Ryan Grover with Blade Runner Nexus. This is a haunted house based off of the Blade Runner franchise, which I absolutely love. Rob, can you run us through this one real quick?
Okay, so this kind of reminds me of Alien Encounter, where you've been invited by this sort of slightly sinister corporation, so that you're being invited to, you know, who doesn't love an open house, right, in a theme park? And then surprisingly, something goes terribly wrong, and you are going to have to run for your life because you're being attacked by what they call in Blade Runner. I just had a brain fart. The synthetic androids.
Replicants?
Replicants. That's the one. Yeah. So you're being attacked. Yeah. So you have to run for your life as murderous replicants are trying to kill you and everyone in your party, and then the only people there to save you are some plucky Blade Runners.
Perfect.
There's a lot of artistic possibilities with that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think it's lots of color.
This one I like from Kevin Kalbfeld. Like it's a bit light on the details, but the artwork. This is like official theme park concept art. Like this could be released, and I believe someone's bringing out kind of that Five Nights at Freddy's, Chuck E. Cheese gone haywire, and nothing is scarier than a giant anthropomorphic critter coming at you with metal teeth.
There's been a Five Nights at Freddy's house, but it was never anything like official, and it was never anything like this good. And it if you've ever played Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't think you have, or I'm sure you know about it.
I was too scared to play it, so I watched someone on YouTube play it, so I could stop it when it gets too scary. But even that was a bit too intense.
It's such a popular franchise. I'm just shocked it hasn't been made into an official haunted house yet.
It just makes sense, and it'll be so unique and terrifying. And the merchandise, like each of the, it'll print money. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Up next, we have the Art of Coaster podcast with Hangman. You have entered the forest to find out what happened last night. As you enter the forest, which is made and taken care of by an old fella who lives nearby you, you start to... I love if you're just going to throw old fella into any of your descriptions. That is going to win me over instantly. You start to notice a hanging man clearly. It was a suicide, but you go further to talk. You talk to someone. You were camping. They say you heard a lot of screaming, and they don't believe it. It was a suicide. It was a murder, and his killer must be nearby. As you leave the campsite, you start to notice weird shadows in the woods. As you see his ghost, but you can't speak to him. He doesn't look like a ghost. He looks alive. This is pretty spooky. And we have a video.
This reminds me of. Ooh. Oh yeah, there's a couple of sort of teaser trailers.
That's so cool.
The sound to it as well, with the creepy children scene. But this reminds me of nearby me. There's an event at a castle. They've taken a real castle you can visit during the day as a historical thing, and then at Halloween they dress it with spooky lighting. They've got scare actors, and you get led around various scenes. And that one struck me more as less of a scare house necessarily, one that you could sort of set up in an actual forest, because you just need a couple of actors positioned in the right locations, guide the groups through, and you could stage various scenes. And then you've got the verisimilitude of being in an actual forest rather than trying to recreate it in a building, because it's never quite right when you're trying to recreate that, which is why it lends itself better to buildings, real enclosed spaces, caves, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a haunted house like that has been built in the woods?
There was that one at the castle I went to. It was called Kenilworth Castle. It wasn't quite in the woods, but it was around like a ruined castle, and you went around and they had this story about the villagers who had been plagued by this disease and they're coming after you. And then inside the ruins they had this ceremony with witches and a cauldron, and they actually grabbed someone out of the audience, murdered them in front of you, and then added it to the potion. So that was
That's
really
awesome.
cool, because then that's better production design you could ever afford, because it's a real castle and you touch it and it's hundreds of years old. It's real stone.
Geez.
You can't
That's
fake it.
Yeah, haunted houses in the woods are like on another level of scary, because they don't have to, like you were saying, they don't have to build their set. The set's there. You just have to make sure that nobody goes off track.
Yeah, lawsuit time.
All right, up next we have Madison Gillum with The Lost Boys. I just had to design a scare house for one of my all-time favorite movies, The Lost Boys. It would probably be on the less scary side overall, but the vampire makeup and effects like the water might just get some jumps. The soundtrack of the movie is awesome and would create a perfect mood for guests to go through. I love that. I would love to see a Lost Boys haunted house.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie, actually, unfortunately.
Wait,
but
what?
I'm sorry, it's a giant Gaffimer thing. I don't really like horror movies, but 80s vampires, like the 80s nostalgia with Stranger Things and everything else, is so huge that you might as well do 80s vampires, because just for the soundtrack alone. But like she was saying, it's got opportunity to just be, really entertaining. Like, not necessarily like blood-curdlingly scary, but kind of like a bit spooky, but just a great atmosphere, because you want to walk around that environment.
I'm revoking your friend card, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's understandable. You can block me on social media. That's cool.
Until you watch it, we're no longer friends.
Okay. With a cushion.
Up next, we've got Dan Iwanek with Friday the 13th, a hybrid track list that transitions into a roller coaster. This is really fun.
Dan messaged me and was like, "Oh, can we kind of stretch the brief a little bit?" And I was thinking, it's blue sky, go for it. So this is part EMV, so think Indiana Jones, going through, the campsite, setting of Friday the 13th. So you're in this vehicle, you load in, and then you're going through various show scenes with bodies swinging from trees. You witness murders, you're darting in and out of the forest, dodging the killer. You swerve, crash into a house where you get disembarked, and you load into what looks like an abandoned car, actually a roller coaster. And from that, you are careening through the woods, you're dodging getting murdered. But I mean, that would be epic. That's not just Horror Nights, that's not just an E-ticket, F-ticket, G-ticket, it's 2 rides in one.
Oh my goodness, that's insane.
It's on another level.
We're doing that, though. Rise of the Resistance is 2 rides in one. Back in the day, we used to think Star Tours was really cool, and now we get to stand in a Star Tours before riding the ride. You know what I mean? Like, so, hey, we're doing it.
No, you're exactly right. This is the future.
That is, and I would love to see Friday the 13th be. I mean, hey, if the Mummy can get a roller coaster ride, Friday the 13th definitely should be able to get one.
Even if it hasn't got Brendan Fraser.
Right.
You could put him in there for fun. Who cares?
Right. Yeah.
Up next, we have Haley Callahan with Tartarus. Take a harrowing journey into the Greek underworld. Escape the talons of oh my goodness, I can't. The jaws of Cerberus and the maniacal clutches of the king and queen of the dead. Venture if you dare. This is really fun. I love this. I love the aesthetic of this.
It's so cool.
Oh yeah, and this video as well. Like, it's so dimensional and well done. Like, my understanding is a lot of these sort of gods will be depicted by puppets, so they can be larger than life. But I just love the way every single facet has been designed, because Tartarus is based on Greek mythology, where the Titans would be imprisoned, kind of like hell, and tortured. So you get to sort of have your own little odyssey, walking through, getting scared, witnessing all these horrific mythological beings attacking you. Those are the witches that share one eyeball. I know that from Hercules. And yeah, like, the presentation is great. The model alone is absolutely fantastic.
So
They've even
cool.
done the lighting, where the actors are going to stand to jump out at you. It's so cool.
That's awesome. I really, really love that. I just love the aesthetic of that in general.
All of these are just like, every one I see is like, oh, that's really cool, and then another one comes in, I'm like, oh, dang it, that one's really cool too.
Up next, we have art by Jeff Lee, Mutant Monster Mall Madness. It is a 80s mall food court monster celebration. This is so much fun. I love this. Rob, can you run us through it real quick?
So this is more 80s nostalgia. So you're going to the mall, and they've got a big event. So all the audio is the DJs who are running the special event from the food court. But then this is hysterical, because this is like such a satire of 80s stuff. So you're going through a mall, and all the sort of typical areas you'd expect, like the food court and the lobby and all the stores. But you've got things that you go past the fountain, and there's a monster made of pennies who attacks you. There's a girl monster that's just made of hair scrunchies.
I love that.
There's a dad whose head is just a giant 80s camcorder. Like, the monster design would be absolutely insane for this.
Cool.
It's hysterical. Like, it's so
again,
clever.
it's that camp. Like, camp
Yes.
wins. Camp is
you
just the
can't-
new
Right.
thing.
Yeah, you can't beat good camp with a haunted house.
No, it's so good.
I think you've got to have, when you have your house mix, like, all the different flavors. So one that is just pure terror, and then you've got to balance it out with one that's a bit more lighthearted, so you're getting different experiences. Otherwise, you're just going to go home and cry if every single house was just traumatizing you.
All right, up next we have Wedge JMB. Now, this is mostly text. Rob, can you run us through this?
So this is a medical-themed haunted house. So the scare actors are surgeons, nurses, patients who've been horribly mutilated, and you're going through all the areas of the hospital. You've got the smells of, you're going through the toilets, so you smell again, but blood and decay and things like that. But the details in this one are so fantastic. It's definitely worth a read. No, he did a great job on this one. He said he's not an artist, so he just went with the words, but you can really picture it. It kind of reminds me, to bring it back to Bioshock, as all good things should, the medical pavilion level with Dr. Steinman, and just that horror of a hospital which you really hope is clean and safe and bright, and one that's disgusting and people have been injured and there's horrific wounds and blood and injuries. Like, that would be so gross and really terrifying.
All right. Up next, we have Emil with Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, yeah. This is so cool.
This was the first one I saw.
Based on a cheap fairground funhouse ride with an animated figure, real scare actors in costumes, and lots of flashing lights. Really great.
Yeah, that's right. You ride it in little boats. He's even planned out the layouts so you can have the same actors running from one scene to the other to scare you twice. And the design of it is so, over the top, a throwback to those, classic Universal pictures. And the animation was really fun as well.
I was hoping we were going to get more pretzel ride designs, like stuff that could come in a semi-truck. I was hoping we were going to get more of those. And that's what this kind of reminds me of, is like a pretzel ride that can be transported in a truck.
Very fairgroundy.
Yeah.
All right, up next we have Alec with Studio 51, New York City, 1979. This is some disco horror.
Disco aliens. Like, as soon as I saw this one, as soon as I saw the name, I got it. Studio 54, Area 51. So this is going to be set in the 70s, which is great because that's such an untapped thing. There's tons of 80s nostalgia, but doing something 70s is going to be so unique because no one's doing that. So you're in New York City, you're in the hottest nightclub, but then an alien sorcerer has crashed in. So you have got, the little green men firing lasers, mutating people, horrifically killing people, and you're running through a dance floor. You've got disco music playing. He's done a teaser as well. I don't know if you've got the music for it, but maybe not. But it's on Twitter, and it's disco music slowly turning into alien laser sound effects, explosions, screaming. That's just really imagine great. The costumes of the scare actors with bell bottoms and big afros and things like that.
That's really cool.
So cool.
That's really
something
cool.
You don't think about.
Up next, we have Olivia with Project Geiger, summer 1952. Lots of time travel houses, which I am all about. Well, not literal time travel, but just going back in time. Plastered over billboards, TV commercials, and newspapers across the nation, the same mysterious ad from the tourism authority of a tiny Midwestern town slowly grounds itself into the minds of American citizens. This is very Fallout.
Yes. So this is all about the government trying to convince people that being mutated by horrific radiation is the new beauty standard. So lots of the artwork for this makes me so happy. It's hilarious. This cheesy 50s commercial where people have got two faces or brains sticking out of their head or they're melting. And then part of the house is you've got these giant vegetables, and the character design on this I think is fantastic. If you carry on, because there's a guy who's a flasher because he's literally irradiated while flashing you. Sort of the 50s housewife who's just melting away. It's so disgustingly gross, but beautiful and well thought out at the same time.
Yeah, I love it. It's again taking when I first saw it, I thought it was going to be aliens, but then I realized it was more than that, and it's so cool.
Yeah, I love that. This is a really, really fun house, and I love the idea of just the glowing, like all that glow. I love a glowing house,
Yeah, it would look beautiful.
Up next, we have Dizwire with The Rage of Kronos, a overlay for the Poseidon Adventure attraction over at Islands of Adventure, with some really, really fun
the
stuff.
Poseidon Adventure.
What's that?
I think
what did I say?
Poseidon's Fury. Because if you said the Poseidon Adventure,
whatever it's
something else.
The Titanic, whatever it is, the Titanic ripoff movie. If that was translated into a spooky horror thing that involved Greek gods, that's what this ride would be. So I saved it. This is really, I love this. I love this concept. I really love this attraction. I've always loved it. I loved it in its first version and its second version when they've changed it, you know what I mean? And these minor aspects, these minor tweaks would really turn this into a top-notch kind of experience.
Because this is taking sort of, Greek myths, because there's the sanitized version, kind of Disney's Hercules, and then the actual stories, which are so full of death and anger and rage and so many horror elements, and that's really leaning into that aspect of it. So as you're going through, there's Kronos, there's Ting, there's castration, there are harpies, the tunnel of water becomes a tunnel of blood. This will be dark, like pitch black dark, content wise, and it ends up with him being forced to vomit out the babies he's eaten. That is absolutely disgusting and chilling.
What's cool about this though is it wouldn't take much effort to make it into this.
No, all the infrastructure is there.
Yeah,
it's new actors, maybe some dye in the water and some new screens, but it's
really
not
you just have to
much.
Sorry. Really, you just have to change the lights to red. Just change the gel.
Right. You just change most of the scenic gel to reds. Yeah, that's so funny. That's exactly all you'd have to do. Because the place is already spooky enough. Let's be real. You know what I mean? It is already spooky enough.
It is, yeah.
Up
They're gonna take our ideas.
next, we have Jude Ramsden with Gallery of Gore. Robert, can you tell me some more about this one?
So it's set in an art gallery, but instead of sort of a haunted house where you're constantly being pulsed through, you're going in groups at a time, and you're following an art heist. So you're following two thieves who are, killing guards, breaking their way in. So you go into one room where, it looks like a mannequin starting to move, and the paintings maybe taking a look at you. And then as you go through, you're hearing guards being killed in front of you. You keep going, and it gets creepier and creepier. So there's a sculpture gallery where the sculptures start coming alive and sort of grabbing at you. And you go through security guard rooms, and it culminates in, you see the painting by the artist whose display it is. But then you've got a room where the actors are painted in like crazy oil paints that match in with paintings, so they can jump out at you and then jump back into the paintings, disguised. And then it ends with you going into a painting, into this sort of Francis Bacon insane artist nightmare. And the two art thieves end up getting murdered and possessed by kind of like oil paint sickness mutation.
I love that. I love that so much. That's so cool.
It was just, absolute genius. I like that. And then she made the models of what the scare act is going to look like, did the 3D render of the hallway and the facade.
I love it.
So this is
Whoops. Okay.
Beat Beinman's Evil Dead Trail of Terror.
Yep.
So this is based on the Evil Dead movie series. So obviously it's going to have built-in comedy, camp. It's going to be hysterical. But what impressed me is I counted, because I nearly had a nervous breakdown building this, 43 illustrations, scene by scene. I mean, I didn't include all of them because, this presentation would be 3 days long. But every single thing has been beautifully drawn. He's put in so much effort into this, thinking about how you take that movie and then how you're going to actually execute it using real scare actors, real special effects. You go from the cabin in the woods, you time travel back to medieval times. You've got the killer trees, you've got the army of the undead, you've got Ash with his mutant hands. It's got everything you'd want to see as an Evil Dead fan.
If I remember correctly, he had been working on this before you had even announced the competition. Like, he had just been working on this for fun, if I remember right.
Oh, really? So it's just a passion project. Like, it wouldn't surprise, but it's just so in depth. Like, if this was an actual house, you'd be in it for like all day, just going through these scenes. But yeah, no, it really made me smile. All these.
All right, and then we have Kim Hanley with Cube, a horror experience, and this one is the winner of the bronze Armchair.
That's correct. Congratulations, Kim. So this was a really round of applause. So what we liked about this one is the concept is really solid because it's based on the Cube movies, which are about I haven't seen them obviously because it's scarier than a Pixar film, but people who find themselves trapped in sort of like a torture chamber, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but it reconfigures itself. Each room has a different kind of torture or suffering and things like that. So not only have you got that as the basic premise, but then what Kim's done is, you should see, the entry was like a whole technical document about where it was going to be, how big it was going to be, how these are going to work. And then the cubes could be reconfigured on a day-by-day basis. So you don't know what's going to happen next because they've been reordered. But you've got things like a room where someone's been sprayed with acid, so the actor's got like a face that's been melted away, someone who's been hacked apart with wires, so they're just kind of been sliced and diced. There's all these like body horror, torture porn kind of scenarios. But I was impressed by the level of detail they went into, and just the idea of a haunted house that could change. So if you're a cocky vlogger, taking your friends through, day one you go through you get scared. You go through it again with some newbies, and you're like, oh, I'm prepared. I know exactly what's going to happen this time. But they've switched all the rooms around, so you're going to get freaked out. That was really clever. And I just included these just to show.
That's the idea of that is beyond genius. If they could exercise some kind of ability, and then build the infrastructure, to use the cube house to be the first house you build to have like an infrastructure where you can turntable show buildings to make them align differently, and then from there on just start to have fun with that entire concept, because like, man, who wouldn't want this? Who wouldn't want this kind of experience? My goodness, it's amazing. Yeah, that was a really great design. The cube house, really beautiful, terrifying. Rob hasn't seen the movie yet. Neither have I. I'm gonna come clean, Rob. I haven't either, man. I haven't seen it either.
What?
It's too scary. It's too scary.
I know. I mean, the real world is scary enough. I don't need to be watching anything that makes it worse.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's scary, but it's good.
Now for the silver armchair winner, we have Infestation by Gum.
I never know how to pronounce her username.
Gumahut,
these guys.
Ako, and Mike G. Matthews. This is a really cool house.
So this is, the idea is you're sort of in an open house for this spooky mansion that's for sale, and it used to belong to a prolific insect collector. What was that? Entomologist? Yeah. I can't remember the word. But the clever thing about this is because, it's a sensitive area, so you have to put on personal protective gear, just like in quarantine, except that's actually a augmented reality headset. So while you are seeing real sets of this insect collector's house, you're wearing goggles which are going to heighten the effect with things that could never possibly exist. So you're going room by room, and you have things that make you suspect that maybe he wasn't on the up and up and just collecting insects. He was experimenting on them, and now they're huge and terrifying. So with the help of your goggles and some nifty effects, you'll be going through his office. And at one point, as always, your guide is horribly killed. Actually, they're ducking away into a hidey hole. But in augmented reality, they're getting shredded by a giant insect. You are going from a room that giant ants have dug a colony tunnel. So you're going from room to room, and each room has a different kind of insect. And the illustrations are absolutely beautiful. You've got scare actors who are going to look like they've been attacked by these insects. This is a model for like a gadget that's going to look like they're laying like lava inside your chest, which is absolutely terrifying. Your spiders' rooms, all these creepy crawly phobia things heightened by this genius idea of augmented reality. So you can have things that you could never have in real life, and then that matched up with real practical effects that make you think it's real. Yeah, this mutation of being infested with creatures inside your head and burrowed under your skin is so disgusting but fantastic.
Shelby, you look way too excited right now. You look way too excited for how much Rob and I are like crawling on our skin. You're way too happy.
Yeah.
It's so gross. It's so gross, but it's so good. It's the augmented reality is. It could happen. Like, you could absolutely incorporate augmented reality in your haunted house and make bugs crawl out of people's mouths. It would be so gross, but it could work. It's genius.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, this is for the final scene where you're looking at the other people in your group and you're looking at them and stuff's crawling out of their faces. Like, oh,
it's so good.
So clever. So good.
I mean, the fact that I don't think we're too far away from like there being a horror void type experience happening to let you recreate scenes from your favorite, horror films. And so
they kind of tried it with Repository at Horror Nights when they had VR.
Oh, how was it?
It didn't really take off. It was.
None of us know about it, so I guess not well.
It was like a mix between escape room and VR, but the VR didn't work that well. So it was a test. It did all right.
Yeah. I'm sure technology will catch up.
Oh, yeah.
And then finally, the golden armchair. This challenge number 4 goes to Rob.
Gang Sequoia with La Maison du Seine. I believe that's
Oh my
correct.
goodness. So I'm gonna just start slow rolling through these, Rob, as you just tell me all about it, okay?
Okay, so believe it's set in Brussels, and Cern means stag or deer. So these are the cast of characters, and one of these I'm going to be suing about because it looks slightly familiar to me. Can you guess who? But the illustrations are beautiful of all the characters. So you're being shown around this very fancy house by maids and butlers in the grand haunted mansion tradition. But then among the cast of characters, you've got this stag cult, which again reminds me of BioShock because they have that cult in the Arcadia level, which is sort of very similar to that. So, and this is a bit Mystic Manor-y. So you start off with, you're going on this tour of these artifacts, but then things are coming to life. So a stained glass window, which, shows a murder, or there'll be this stone painting which comes to life. You go into a greenhouse where there's a gardener there, and there's like a body that's been mutilated with plants growing out of it, a bit like Annihilation. And then this is all culminating. It's getting creepier and creepier and creepier. Amazing illustrations as well. Kind of the rapture thing of people in masks just eerily staring at you. This chair, which is made out of a great ape. Then you've got a hanging stag from the ceiling, and you go in room to room and building the story of this stag cult that the proprietor of the house belongs to. And then finally, you're in this grand ritual. A plant in the audience will be called out and murdered while cultists stand by beating drums. It gets super creepy. There is the chant, there is a spell, and the whole thing culminates in summoning this stag demon who kills the owner, predictably. But the layout is fantastic. All the description is beautiful. You should definitely take the time to pause and look at that. And then the illustrations and the execution were fantastic.
The imagery
we were just blown away by the quality
stag
of
demon
it.
at the end, it's just, man, to see that practically done would be so cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny is before I even knew about your top 3, this was my number 1.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah. It's gorgeous. It's so good. You don't see art style like this in any attraction, let alone a haunted house. Be able to see Art Nouveau in horror with deer and cults, and it's so good. I would see this on HBO.
Yeah.
Let alone a haunted house.
This imagery right here of the stag hanging upside down in that big observatory kind of that's just super unsettling. You know what I mean? Super.
It's so good. The lighting alone.
And it's such a unique concept, and the execution of it, because with some ideas you look at it and you think, okay, this reminds me a lot of something from the past or something like that, but then this is mixing the idea of a cult with the idea of all these deer heads and then the Art Nouveau house. These are all things that you wouldn't have seen in any other scare house, and the story's fantastic. They did such a great job.
It's gorgeous.
So well done, Gang Sequoia. Congratulations on the golden armchair.
Claps. That was, oh my goodness. I can't believe, just like you say, Rob, every time you put up the challenge, you're just we'll get 10 of these. You know what I mean? And and each one will maybe have a picture. And then we get we could turn this entire episode into an art book. You know what I mean? It's crazy how stunning some of the stuff that's come through this round. Just absolutely stunning.
You're right. If I had no scruples, I'd sell this as an armchair, lay a coffee table book, and make a fortune. I'd be talking to every theme park I could find and selling these ideas as my own and keeping them for myself. But
where do you get all your ideas? Well,
honest.
I have a team. I have a team of very skilled artists.
Yeah, exactly.
Shelby, we missed out. You've entered into every single one of these before. Give us a little taste of what your theme would have been if you were to do a house?
Well, I just did one just before he even announced this. I did one for fun. I did an Alan Wake house, which was based
I
off the
remember
video
that
game
one.
Alan Wake. I did that. I probably would have done Bioshock,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah,
Or
I feel
Lovecraft.
like you slightly, because if you'd entered with a Bioshock house, that would have just won automatically. Like you don't have
Yeah.
to write a story.
I
You don't
think in
have to tell
fairness,
me any of the details.
In fairness, we chose the right guest judge for this episode.
We had to
Your interest
remove
would
you
have
from the
aligned too
competition.
much. Yeah.
But some of these people who entered put more work into it than I would have ever put into it at all. Like, there's so much. Like,
It's just
someone built the house, like the Fallout one. That was insane.
it always blows me away how much like creativity and hard work go into all of these. When we would have expected doodles on the back of a post-it note and maybe like a sentence, and people are like, no.
And we would have been happy with that, guys. We would have been happy with that.
Yeah.
We would have been happy with
Yeah.
3 post-it notes with small doodles and a 4th post-it note with 3 sentences. So,
Yeah.
Shelby, can you tell everybody where they can find you, where they can get all of your beautiful artwork that tickles me so every time you share it?
You can follow me at Wendigutz, which is WENDIGUTZ. I almost forgot how to spell my own username. On anything, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and you can find my store through the links in my profile and go buy my stuff if you want to. I'm not telling you to. So.
Including these
No,
awesome
I'm
shirts
telling
you
you
just
too.
designed.
Yeah, these shirts. I've got this one inspired off of Jack the Clown from Horror Nights, and then I've got a Vamp 55 one sitting in my closet right now. If you're not familiar with Vamp 55, it's...
So what you're saying is we brought the right person in to guest judge this episode.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Rob, where can we find you at? Again, a reminder.
Yeah, on social media, I'm at RobJYo, which is YEO, and also my website is robyodesign.com, and all my stuff is on there.
As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Chase, stay tuned for challenge number 5. Make sure you follow Rob on Twitter so you can catch when he and Instagram. You put it on Instagram too, don't you?
I do, yes.
Yep. So make sure you follow Rob on Twitter and Instagram to find out what the next challenge will be. And if you want to enter it, because this has been the Armchair Imagineering Challenge. Thanks for watching, guys. We all waved at the same time. I'm so proud of us.
Victory!